So good morning and welcome to this week's video. We're here, well, just outside Christchurch. You can probably see it behind me. It's where the Avon, River Avon, the River Stour meet. And I cast my mind back quite a few years ago. A good friend of mine, Richard, we used to fish for sort of mullet here. Quite a bit successful, I can recall. So, well, behind the camera is the Isle of Wight, and we're at Stanpit Marshes Nature Reserve. A few weeks ago, when I filmed the ospreys at Fish Lake Meadows, got chatting to another birder there, recommended coming here, said it was a lovely place to be, and it certainly is the case. Got here at dawn, just a lovely, lovely clear morning, so a lovely dawn. So I'm going to spend, well, probably, definitely the morning here, maybe up to midday, and then I may drop back to Keyhaven where we were filming last week. But for the moment it's just absolutely so peaceful, which was really nice, and it's just lovely to be next to water. Well, let's see what comes. I highly recommend doing a little research when visiting a new venue, and I'd noticed that at high tide access here can be a little bit restricted, so it's certainly worth being prepared for those high spring tides. Arriving just before dawn on a rising tide, high water was around about 11 o'clock. This meant the waders were relatively close at this point, but the issue, facing east, filming would be a real challenge as the sun rose above the horizon. With the rising tide, these birds would be forced to leave the water and rest on the grassy area, or they could leave the harbour altogether until the tide changed. I was hoping at this time of the year to see some migrating birds, Wheatear, whinchat, and, if lucky, a chance of a Whimbrel, a similar looking bird to the curlew, as we can see here, but a smaller bird and much rarer. Low tide was around about 3 p.m. and I decided I would return here around midday when the water would be receding and the light would be in a much more favourable position. The circular walk around this venue follows the coastline, crossing a prototype Bailey Bridge. The path afforded some really clear views of the harbour and Hengistbury Head, with the Isle of Wight way off in the distance. As the path turned inland, you get a really good view of Christchurch Priory, where the Avon and the Stour meet, passing a rusty, I think it's an abandoned lifeboat. Returning past the recreation ground and shop, I found myself at my original starting point around mid-morning. With the lights slightly diffused by the high cloud, I was delighted to see my first migrant, small group of Wheatears, resting up before readying themselves for the next part of their epic migration. I love the bandit mast band across the eyes of the male. Seen between March and late October, they breed in Greenland and Alaska. One of the long-distant migrants heading for the coast of Africa to overwinter, these relatively small birds undertake what is one of the longest migrations of any songbird. Once they departed, I walked to the tip of the South Marsh, which affords some good views towards Blackberry Point in the distance. Here, resting at the head of the marsh at high tide, were a flock of sandwich terns. Another summer visitor with a distinctive shaggy crest. These terns breed exclusively on our coastal areas from the Isle of Scilly up to Orkney. bird of prey seemed to stir them into flight, along with some oyster catchers and lapwings. As they settled, as planned, I returned to the East Marsh, where I started at dawn. The light, sort of being over my right shoulder, was far kinder, and with nearly 3 hours till low tide, the waders were still sort of close enough to film. I searched for the elusive Whimbrel amongst the more common resident curlew. Here was a curlew on the right, but coming in the frame was a smaller bird. Was it a Whimbrel? Not convinced. I continued to scan for more likely candidates. I framed up this curlew in the distance and a smaller bird in the foreground. I really felt that this was what I was looking for. I focused on the bird and it seemed to tick all the ideal boxes. A shorter, straighter beak with a curved tip. And as the views improved, I saw that eye and crown stripe. The Whimbrel passes through in spring and in autumn from West Africa wintering grounds to their northerly breeding areas, the closest being Shetland, but they also travel as far as western Siberia. Fortunately for me, I was joined by some of the volunteers from the reserve here, and they confirmed my observation. They highly recommended a look at the Christchurch Harbour Ornithological group, and I think I'll link the website below in the description. The CHOG website is really full of useful information, including an interactive map. As the Whimbrel flew off and landed in the distance, I realised my time here was running out. But what a day, and what a fabulous location. Well, that looks like it for the day. Low tide is about 3 o'clock, it's about 2:30 now, so it looks as if the waders are starting to move further and further out. So overall, it's been a really, really good session. I love this place. It's definitely going to be on a list of come to again, I think. I mean, the weather certainly did help, but it's just a lovely view. Christchurch, Hengistbury Head, yeah, highly recommended. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, give it a big thumbs up, like and subscribe, and as always, it'd be great for you to catch me in the next one.